Hello! I brought up the app Amino in passing, may I add, in my internet friends video, which is very related to this. So if you'd like to watch that before this or after this, I definitely recommend it. And truly, I had no idea how much of a cultural reset this app was. Not in a positive way at that. And I definitely was not expecting such uproar in the comments. I actually assumed that really no one would know what it was. And I have a weird history with Amino. Back in the day when they were still growing in popularity, I was actually sponsored by them, which is very strange. And that will probably not be happening ever again after I make this video. Possibly download Amino. And with that, because, you know, they were sponsoring me, I downloaded the app for the first time. And to be honest, I only really got familiar enough with it to be able to talk about it and understand that it was a really cool way of making friends and, you know, building communities. But I didn't really get super involved, so after like 2 weeks or so, I deleted it for storage. And I very much so forgot about it. Never in a million years imagining that it would end up being my life in the future. But let's fast forward a bit. I got into K-pop. By the way, I will be mentioning some references to K-pop in this video just because that was really what my whole experience on Amino was. So it's kind of hard for me not to talk about K-pop and stuff, but the video is about Amino, so if you aren't into K-pop, don't worry. So let's go back. I was trying to find a new lock screen of Vernon from 17 because at the time that man had the firmest gorilla grip on my life. But I'm sure most people know that when you click on an image on Safari, it'll tell you what the website is that the image is on. And I noticed it was from Amino. And naturally, I got pretty curious because I wanted to see how much they had grown and kind of what their success was since, you know, their early days of growing when I promoted them. And because at the time I was starting to get into K-pop, I started looking up some groups that I knew of. And it was like I saw a light. Angels began singing in my ears. Sparkles were dazzling in my eyes because finally I had found my people. In the small town that I lived in Ohio, yes, my state of birth and most of my life is a meme now. Seems quite fitting. Not many people really knew what K-pop was. It was kind of before the big boom. At my school, all I really had was like 1 or 2 pretty casual fans at that of K-pop. The one girl actually grew up in Korea. She was coming to America for an education. And of course, because she grew up in Korea, this wasn't anything new to her like it was to me. Sure, we had like One Direction, 5 Seconds Summer, stuff like that, but I don't know, man, K-pop's a different breed. For me, though, I saw a pretty boy and thrusted my entire soul, my entire existence, my entire being into a deep, dark black hole of parasocial relationships and no longer having a savings account. So when I saw that I could make K-pop friends super easily on Amino, I was absolutely ecstatic. But for those of you who never really used Amino, or maybe you don't even know what it is, let me give you a little rundown. On the main page, when you enter the app, there will be a search bar, and you can type in literally anything in the world, and I guarantee there will likely be a community for it. I looked up poop because I am 7 years old, and yep, I stand corrected. Poop community. Except it's locked, so that kind of sucks. And is also concerning. But all right, you joined poop community, right? So what's next? You could join public chat rooms, talk to random people, and you could post on the public forum. I guess a forum is a good word to call it. It was kind of just like a Reddit just for that community in a way. And then depending on how active you were in that community, you could actually gain reputation points, which then boosted your account level as well. High levels meant that you were literally God, even though they really meant nothing. No benefits, just bragging rights. I don't know. Public chat rooms are really the star though, because it was mainly how you made friends in these communities. And dude, when I say it was the coolest thing, it was the coolest thing to be added into a private chat room. I mean it. My experience on Amino was actually pretty chill until I met one friend group. And this was really one of my first experiences with catfishers and pick-me's. Before I really even knew what pick-me's were, at least. I am somebody who has kind of always felt comfortable showing my face on the internet, even when I was way too young to be doing so. But with that being said, I feel like it trained me for face reveals. And I bring that up because face reveals were a big part of the Amino experience. But of course, I was always extremely supportive, and if somebody else didn't want to show their faces, I never like pressured or pushed them to do so. I was actually one of the people that would say like, hey guys, let's like not bug them about it if they don't want to have their face revealed, you know, because there would be people who would pressure and bully people who did not want to reveal their face. You would commonly have at least one toxic person that would text in the chat saying that you were ugly, or would send a picture of a person who is not them to try and one-up them, because usually these people were very insecure about themselves and just wanted to bring you down. They felt like they always had to have the better face reveal. Usually you had about 2 or 3 really chill people, 1 or unfortunately 2 pick-me's, a comedic wizard, the ghoster, and then that one person who would reply to every message in about 0.5 seconds. And even if you didn't really have this many people in a group chat, you at least came across one of these people once during your Amino experience. So that is kind of the SparkNotes version of what Amino is, or at least how it was when I joined. But I actually did find out from many comments that you guys left that Kik actually bought Amino, which my jaw hit the fucking floor. But I kind of want to make this video about how Amino was in the past, because let's be real, most of us are too traumatized to still be using Amino. And with that being said, segue. As I say in kind of all my videos that are related a bit to this one, there is going to be good and bad in everything within the internet. But, you know, some things on the internet make me feel like I need therapy more than others. During my time on Amino, which was a while, I experienced a lot, and by reading your comments, you did as well. But there's one comment that I really want to quote. This comment is by GarotoDBZ. I probably messed up that username, and I'm so sorry if it's a reference that I do not understand. Amino was the most toxic app ever. It's like Reddit before hormonal, extremely judgmental teens. And I don't know if I could have said it better myself. In my experience with Amino, I really only dealt with the teens, but I have heard of many experiences and actually have even read a lot of your guys' experiences in the comments talking about groomer and predator stories that you actually came across on Amino. And I actually didn't know until reading all your stories how prominent it actually was. And it's so sad and disappointing, but I'm oddly not surprised by hearing that. I feel like with everything on the internet, whenever you have public features, it's going to happen. And I feel like a part of the reason why I'm unfortunately not surprised is because I did notice that people got extremely comfortable on this app, myself included. I actually did end up meeting 2 of my internet friends that I met on Amino. Thankfully, they were not 50-year-old serial killers. Shout out to Kate and Marie. Not Johnny though. sorry, that is a reference to my internet friend video. Again, it's really related to this. I definitely suggest you go watch it. But when I say that people got way too close and way too personal on this app, I do mean it. You would be in public chats, you know, just talking about your favorite food, talking about your favorite stores, type of fashion that you like, blah, blah, blah. And Susie will just drop a message being like, my grandma just died and I watched it. Like, Susie, oh my god, not the time. I still don't even know how to react to that. Boom. The most traumatic sentence of your goddamn life that you've read, and how do you react to that? And obviously this is an example. I am not assuming that Susie's grandma dying was a hoax, but I will say there were many people who would just randomly talk about very traumatic things that were often attention grabbing, that were false, or maybe they weren't, but again, they were traumatic and something that you shouldn't be telling random strangers who were just talking about what their favorite NCT songs were. You know, there's just a time and a place, and most of the time it wasn't the time or the place. A popular one being maybe they just got sent to the hospital for some reason, maybe their house burnt down, or that they were going to unalive themselves. This might shock some people, but this was probably one of the most uncommon experiences I have talked about with other Amino users. But yes, you would have random people messaging you about that. This could have been somebody that you had befriended, or maybe it was just a very random person that you had literally never talked to once in your life. And the random people that would message you these really traumatic things would often be because Amino would actually show you who was online in your community at that moment. So these people would know that you were active and could reply to them if you wanted to. So that put a lot of pressure on you. And if you know me, you know by me bringing this up is in no way, shape, or form invalidating self. What I'm talking about are the people who will message random strangers that they don't know threats to themselves, which can be very, very traumatic for the receiving end, especially because that person does not know you and can feel very helpless, and how are they going to help you when they know no personal information about you? All they can really say is like, please don't do that. You're kind of forcing them to talk to you because, again, you're putting them in a very traumatic, vulnerable state because now they feel like it's their fault if something does happen to you. Overall, it's not an okay thing to do. And what was even more messed up is sometimes these people would just leave in the middle of the conversation, leaving you biting your fingernails because, again, you can't really do anything. You don't know what's going on. You don't know if they're just away from their phone for a second. You don't know. You don't know. It's all just like a game to them almost. And then the next day they'd usually message you saying, oh, hey, sorry, I fell asleep. I'm very glad you got to sleep because I did not. Say it with me now. We will not traumatize random strangers on the internet. Good job. Seriously though, please never do this. I do want to acknowledge though that I still believe these people need help, because if you think it is okay to do this, something needs dug up from the depths of your youth. And with that being said, I am absolutely not shaming anybody who may have even done this in the past. I hope that you're in a better mental space and that you found some resources, because another 15-year-old isn't that. Anytime that I mention this topic, please know that there are going to be resources down in the description below, because I always want people to feel like they're heard, and I never want people to feel like they're alone. And I am aware that it feels nice to talk to friends when you're going through a lot, but as I've said in previous videos, it's just really important to make sure that the people that you're talking to are in a right mental space, and that it makes sense for you to be talking to that person about what you're going through. A random stranger who cannot really help you that much is not going to be that for you. Another toxic aspect that people went through was actually being a leader or a curator. The communities were ran by the community, and the leaders were able to actually select staff for them. This was basically just to help monitor, because sometimes communities could actually get really, really big, and being a part of staff could have been the best or worst part of your Amino experience. The amount of fights that went on between staff was crazy. You had leader, co-leader, and you had curator. Co-leaders could pretty much do everything leaders could do, which of course was everything, except they weren't able to assign other staff. Curators could do a lot, but they mainly just had the power to moderate. One thing though that they had the power of was assigning top posts. Curators could pick what the top posts on the community would be. Top posts were basically posts that were pinned by the curators or leaders or whoever, which meant that it would be seen by pretty much everyone in the community when they would log on for the day. But in some communities, this actually became a problem because creators would be friends with other members in the community who didn't have a role, and they would always pin their post, and like other people would get really mad because they think wouldn't be fair, and they'd be like, well, I've spent a lot of time on this post, so I don't understand why. Do you have a headache yet? I remember being a part of staff for a few communities, but only a few of them were on the toxic side. But I have heard of some absolutely insane stories that people went through while being staff in a community. Some of these staff members were actually told they had to be online for 4 to 6 hours a day if they wanted to keep their role. And they couldn't just be online, they had to be active and constantly moderating, to the point of, that's a job, babe, without the most important part, aka getting paid. And honestly, I remember a lot of these staff members actually kind of being horrible. Sometimes they actually made being in a community kind of miserable. Some communities that I was in, it was actually banned that you couldn't make private chats, and if they found out that you made private chats, they would either demand that one of the creators be added into this chat, or it was deleted, or that all of you got banned. I do have to say though, at least there is some moderation going on. With this video, I wanted to actually expose myself. And I know that there are a lot of people who are going to not understand this, and that is okay. K-pop communities aside, something that I was very involved in during my Amino days were RP groups, roleplay groups. Yeah, listen. Fan fiction is one thing, but RP is another. No. I don't mean like asterisks, farts, asterisks. I mean that type of RP that is like, Mark Lee walked downstairs to nobody in the dorms. He noticed his stomach being upset from the shin ramen that he ate the night before. He knew all the other boys were at the studio practicing for the new comeback, so he was in the clear. He did one last glance around the dorm, and then he released a loud puff of air. So sorry. This was honestly where the majority of toxicity that I experienced came from. If you know what this is, how are you? I am here whenever you want to talk. If you never indulged in such a thing as this, you're probably wondering, how was this toxic? Let me tell you. When you would join an RP community, you had to make your account. And for me, I would often just choose the face of an idol because those were kind of the groups I was in. I know. Typically in these groups, you couldn't have repeats. So if someone was already taken in a specific group you wanted, you couldn't be that person. You had to pick somebody else. First groups to go were always BTS and Blackpink. And I love Twice. I don't know who the popular members are, but for some reason, Sana from Twice was literally never ever available. And I am sure that Sana from Twice is a lovely woman, but the most annoying people always chose her. I'm getting off track, but please, someone, if you know what I'm talking about, if you know, you know. I don't know why. I do not know why the wackest people always chose to RP as Sana, dude. But sometimes new accounts either wouldn't respect this rule or they just didn't know about it and they would make a duplicate even though that person might not really be available. And when people saw that there was a duplicate account, all hell would break loose. People would go into your DMs and absolutely obliterate your existence. I accidentally had this happen to me once, and I got from several members of NCT. So, never made that mistake ever again. Seriously though, it was a goddamn felony if you duplicated members when you weren't supposed to. There would often also be dating/cheating scandals. Yes, I said that correctly. Usually you made it very well known if you were in a relationship with somebody. And some people that you came across took this taken thing a little too seriously, to the point that if you were role-playing with somebody else, then they would consider that cheating. And breakups felt very real to many people. This was basically just taking Chronically Online to the next level. And some of these people would actually get very mad at you if you took even like 10 minutes to reply to their 8-paragraph long roleplay message. Babe, I am eating dinner. Where I started realizing that this was not a healthy thing to be doing is that I could genuinely tell that this was messing up the psychology of many of my friends that I made in these communities. Because to me, it was kind of just for fun. I've always liked writing, but there were many people that genuinely use this as an escape to their own lives. When I was just doing this for fun, like there was a very different dynamic. And I noticed that it was a really large trend that people would become very dependent on these fake characters and live vicariously through them. And it just, I don't know, it got to a point where I realized this is not healthy and I don't want to be a part of this, you know? There's a lot of deep underlying ties that I don't really want to talk about here, just because I don't want to make people feel like I'm shaming them for doing something like that. Like, it's just my own thoughts. I just think it's not really the best thing to do. And I mainly met very toxic, horrible people through that as well. So it's just, I don't know. You know? Overall, Amino was actually a really great and fun app. I met some really cool people on there and I made some really, really interesting memories. And every once in a while, I still wonder how all of them are doing. But just overall, you can't have good without the bad. Many people that I met, myself included, at the time when I was using this app, we were all very young and we were genuinely just trying to talk about stuff we had in common. And it was a great outlet for that. So really, the only bad thing that I have to say about Amino isn't even about the app itself. It was just about the user base. Again, old Amino, I don't know what it's like since Kick took over. I I haven't been on the app for like 4 years. From what I know, Amino has died down a lot, and I don't know if that's from Media Lab buying them out and people just don't like it anymore, or if genuinely people had so many traumatic experiences from the users that they surround themselves with that now the app just seems super unpleasant to be around. So I would kind of love to ask, why did you stop using Amino? I do have to say though, somebody did make an Amino community for me back in 2016. So thank you to the 48 people that sold their soul to me. I really appreciate it. And with that, that's a wrap. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed me telling you my deepest, darkest secret about myself. And I would love to hear your experience on Amino, because I feel like so many of us went through so many different things. I appreciate you guys watching this video. If you'd like to follow me, you can follow me in the description below. I will see you guys when I see ya. Bye.